Hello everyone, only a small percentage of people that watch my videos are actually subscribed, so if you end up liking this video, consider subscribing, it's free and you can always change your mind. Enjoy the video. My stepdaughter and I don't have a good relationship. I have been in her life since she was 9. Her father and I started dating 3 months after he filed for divorce. We were colleagues for a short while, about a year before their divorce, but we didn't have any relationship back then. I left the firm just 6 months after we started working together. I didn't even think about him once till we reconnected at a party hosted by our colleague. His ex-wife thinks that we had an affair with me. There is nothing we can do to convince her otherwise. She told her daughter about her suspicions when she was around 13. We had a great relationship till then, and I tried to tell her that her dad didn't cheat. She doesn't believe us. It is just our words against her mother, and the timeline does look a bit suspicious. She withdrew from me and she has always been distant since then, and sometimes she made some remarks about her father being a cheater, and it was very hard on both of us. It was something we tried to talk about, but it was just our words against her mother's, and she truly believed it. She returned home for summer break after her freshman year. She decided to spend most of the time with her mother, but she does visit us a few times. She visited us 2 days ago. She was in a remarkably bad mood. She was just stewing in silence and watching something on TV. I asked her to turn the volume down as I was working. She blew up on me. She called me a homewrecker and a gold digger. She accused me of ruining her parents' marriage. I was stunned and shocked, and it hurt me. I knew she didn't like me, but she clearly hated me. I think her calling me a gold digger hurt the most. I am at a stage of my career where I want to switch to something less stressful, but one of the reasons I don't is because we don't want her to be burdened by a debt. I love this girl, even if she didn't care about me. I asked her to leave the house and come back when she could. Was a bit calmer. She left the house and she is not talking to her father. He tried to talk to her and she is not speaking to him. I feel incredibly guilty. I should have handled it better. I got too emotional about it. I really can't blame her for believing what her mom told her. If my mom told me something similar about dad, I would have believed it, and I can't blame her mother too. If you believed that your spouse cheated, wouldn't you tell your children at some point? I let her words get to me, and I may hurt my husband's relationship with her. I feel guilty as hell. My husband also think that I should have been calmer here and just let her vent a bit before talking to her. This young woman is a victim of her mother's lies about you. The bio mom is the main idiot here. Those lies do not excuse stepdaughter's behavior toward you in your home. Yes, you could have handled it better, but we are human beings. We are imperfect. Tell her you are sorry for telling her to leave, but that you were upset because you did not have an affair with your husband while he was still with the bio mom. You are not the idiot. Forgive yourself too. Everyone sucks here. You began dating him 3 months after he only filed for divorce after having worked together previously. I'm not saying you're lying about how your relationship started, but you even admit it looks highly suspicious. Not sure what the cause of the divorce was, since you don't state, but for a child it's hard for them to understand. The ex-wife understandably thinks he may have been cheating, but she should never have put that on her 13-year-old daughter. That was an idiot move. It's been quite some years and you and your husband haven't been able to show her that the relationship started innocently. No idiots here, except for her mom. That poor girl has been poisoned by her mother, but can you blame her? It's her mom telling her that stuff. You can't expect someone who was 13 at the time of being told to be a detective to find out if it was the truth. I bet her heart was broken because she loves her dad. But I also don't expect you to put up with it. You're innocent, even if the timeline is suspicious. You shouldn't have to put up with verbal abuse from anybody. Maybe you could have handled it better, but you could have handled it a lot worse, too. Update. Some people suggested that I show her evidence, but the funny thing is that I have none because we had no relationship outside of the office. He was an email address and nice voice on the phone for my time there. I think we interacted in person maybe once a week. We were not even in the same department. I have shown her our resume. I have tried to show her our id tags, but she thinks we are hiding our relationship. You can't prove a negative. My husband did have a conversation about how she treated me. I think it got through to her. She visited yesterday. She apologized for being short-tempered. I apologize for kicking her out the house. We had a nice dinner and we ended up talking. My baby got cheated on. She did lash out on me, but considering what she believed, she just took out all the hurt on me. She looked so heartbroken talking about it. I know how bad it is. When you love someone so much that even when they trample your heart you just want to pick it up and offer it back to them. I had just gotten out of a toxic, messed up relationship with a cheating idiot when I met my husband. It was heartbreaking watching her go through something similar. I did cry a little. She let me hug her, and that means a lot to me. I missed my baby. We have so much to work through. We are seriously considering having some family therapy, but I didn't want to spring it on her when she's emotional. My husband is planning to talk to her about it. Things are still a mess, but after a long time I feel like we are moving in the right direction. It's clear that she was projecting her own insecurities and pain onto you given her misassumption about your relationship with her dad. It's not an excuse, but it's good to see her starting to recognize it for what it is, while apologizing and opening up. It's a start, and family therapies are a good idea. Although waiting is probably the smart call. I'm glad you made up, but it sounds like you do have evidence of you not cheating with her dad. Her dad can explain the real reason he divorced her mom. And you can order the information about your past relationship before her dad. You may not have those receipts, but I'm sure there is something that offers her dad, or your relationship started as a rebound after 2 relationships ended. I'm a 29-year-old white guy. My wife is 30 and black. We have 2 kids, a 3-year-old girl and a 5-year-old boy. My wife got pregnant with our son early in our relationship. We had only been together a year. We got married because she got pregnant. Fortunately for us, we are actually happy. When my son was born I accepted him as mine. However, I couldn't help noticing how little he looked like me. He is noticeably darker than my wife. He doesn't look half white. My family and friends have asked if I'm sure he's mine. I had doubts, but I initially decided to trust my wife. I loved my son regardless. When our son was 2, my wife had our daughter. I had no doubt she's mine. She looks just like me, she even has my blue eyes. I never realized how powerful it is to know a child is yours. I bonded with her easier because there wasn't the question of paternity dangling over our heads. My family bonded with her faster too. Her resemblance to me convinced me that my son is not mine. I tried to always treat them equally as I see them both as my children. But I realized I was beginning to resent my son. It felt unfair that I had to care for someone else's child. I also began to resent my wife because I felt she had betrayed me. I finally got a paternity test in secret. I was relieved to learn that my son is in fact mine. Genetics are weird. Anyways, that was 4 months ago, and my relationship with my wife and son improved dramatically. I feel much closer to him now that I know he's mine. My wife and I have been so happy that we were talking about a 3rd child. I confessed to my wife I got a paternity test. I hated keeping the secret and I thought she would understand given how much he doesn't look like me. She flipped out. She asked me if I ever doubted our daughter, and when I said no she called me racist. It's not true. I didn't prefer my daughter because of her whiter features, I just knew she was mine. She also said that I made our son feel unloved for no reason for all those years. I said that's bull. Even when I didn't believe my son was mine, I treated him as though he were. My wife says she wants to move out and take our children after the quarantine. It's been about a week and a half, and I'm still on the sofa. I hoped she would have calmed down by now, but things haven't changed. She's just so furious with me for not trusting her, and for, in her eyes, denying my son because he's dark. She barely talks to me, unless it's about the kids. I don't want to lose my family. Is it so awful that I had doubts? I still took care of him. I don't understand why something like this is wrecking my marriage. I think she is overreacting. So, am I the idiot? You're the idiot. You didn't communicate any of this to your wife until after the fact. You even admitted to being able to bond with your child because you were sure she's yours. That's just terrible for your son. You do realize that everyone can come a little darker or lighter than their parents, genetics as you seem to have learned. You let this build up against a damn baby. Major, you are the idiot. Your family is also the idiot. You are the idiot. Why did you tell her about the test? What possible good could have come from it? She has every right to be mad at you. You basically told her you didn't trust her and that she must have cheated on you. Plus, you even admitted you bonded quicker with your daughter and that your family did as well. Maybe your wife is now wondering if you and your family prefer the daughter over your son because she's not as dark as him. She has plenty to be mad about, and I don't blame her one bit. There's a lot of counseling to be done here if you want to save your marriage. You're not the idiot for having doubts and looking for answers, but you're an idiot for telling her about it afterward. Pretty sure you'd feel the same way if she unfairly accused you of cheating on her. Because that's what you basically did. You're the idiot. She is absolutely not overreacting. You not only did not trust your wife, but you also let your ignorance get in the way of you bonding with your child. I mean, what did you think was going to happen when you had biracial children? It's not always a perfect matcha mixture of both parents. You really need to deal with it and beg for forgiveness, and then you need to fix that ignorant way of thinking that you have. My ex-husband and I share custody of our 10-year-old daughter and 12-year-old son. We have a 2-2-3 schedule, which usually looks like I have the kids Friday after school, and then he gets them Monday after school. I get them back Wednesday after school, and then he gets them Friday after school, and then the week flip-flops. We've done this since our divorce 5 years ago, and it works well. I'm a nurse in the operating room, so I schedule my shifts for the days during the week when they are with their dad, and my one-call weekend every 6 weeks is a weekend they are with their dad. Recently, the kids said they want to try splitting up on the weekends, so instead of both of them being with us during the weekend, one will go with dad and one will be with me. My son said he would make sure he was with me on call weekends because he can stay by himself if I have to get called in or can hang out at the hospital until I'm done. My ex is on board with this because he says it will allow us to spend one-on-one time with the kids and will allow the kids a break from each other. They squabble occasionally and annoy one another. Well, they have a point. Sometimes it is hard to not feel like you are disappointing one by trying to accommodate the other. I do not want to give up my free weekends. It took me a few months to get used to not having my kids all the time after the divorce, but now my weekends without them are filled with activities or travel. My ex agreed. If there was a weekend trip I wanted to take, he would be fine having both the kids that weekend, but I honestly don't want to have to take his schedule into consideration when planning my trips, and sometimes they are spontaneous trips. I was talking to my family about this at breakfast this morning, and they are all kind of appalled by me not wanting to do this. My sister pointed out that if I was still married, then I wouldn't have all the child-free time I have now, and many mothers don't get a break from their kids like I do. My mom said she can't believe I deny my children quality time with their parents for selfish reasons, like not wanting to give up my weekends. My sister-in-law seemed to understand where I was coming from, but said that she would still do it and just incorporate the child into whatever I was doing, and pointed out my daughter would love to go on the NYC shopping trip I had planned for December, and my son would happily join me for my Saturday morning spin classes. I considered that, but my sister-in-law loves taking her kids everywhere, so I don't know that she is aware of how nice it is to just be an adult without the responsibility of a child wherever you go. They were really making me feel like an idiot though. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot for wanting to keep the schedule as is, but you would be the idiot if you refused to make some revisions to give the kids equal time with each parent or compromise at all, because putting your desires ahead of everyone else's would be selfishness. Like, why not suggest that the kids do 2 weekends apart and then 2 weekends together? Then you would still have one free weekend and they would get the time they need. Find a new balance. You're treating and talking about your kids like they're some acquaintance. Your sister-in-law offered you solutions, but because they care enough to bother to be around their kids, you don't think they really count. The fact that you are aware of how nice it is to just be an adult without the responsibility of a child wherever you go translates to you are aware of how nice it is to be child-free. But you're not child-free. No idiots here. Your children are not neglected or uncared for. You work and have a schedule that is fair and functional. Siblings often don't get along. But if you and your ex were still together, you wouldn't suddenly send one of them to live at a different house so they could get away from each other. Having kids does not mean your entire identity revolves around them. You have a great work-life, family balance right now, which is a solid achievement. A lot of folks have a kind of martyr standard when it comes to parenting. If you don't spend every available moment on your kids, then you're somehow a bad person and an irresponsible parent. You're the idiot. I know it feels great to have your time alone, But you decided to have your kids and they need to feel loved by you. Sadly, you'd prefer to do things on your own and not have obligations. Not gonna lie, it would make me really sad if my mom told me this. You just have to make do with the time that you do have and take into consideration your ex's schedule when planning stuff.